Welcome back to another episode of the Young Guides Podcast. I'm Keaton, and this is...
I'm Kyle.
But first, a word from our partners.
First up, we want to talk about Heather's Choice. If you go to the Heather's Choice website and use our code TheYoungGuides15 at checkout, you can get yourself 15% off site-wide. So go check them out. We got packaroons for snacks. We got dinners. We got breakfasts. We got a bunch of new recipes coming out to you guys. So head on over to heatherschoice.com at checkout. Use our code, TheYoungGuides15, and get you guys something for your next outdoor adventure.
Awesome. For our next partner, we have Lucky Bug Lures, home of the Bingo Bug, Zombie Max, Fusion Extreme, Lucky Plug, F-Bomb, and Pike Bomb. They take conventional lures and change them up a little bit, and it helps your fishing and your luck on the water. Go check them out. www.luckybuglures.com. Go get yours today.
All right. Up next, we have Northern Knits. Emily up here in Anchorage knits wool hats and distributes them through her social media platforms. You can find her on Facebook or on Instagram. Her Instagram account is northern._.knits. And you can see some of the hats that she has in stock and order from there, or you can kind of get an idea of what you want, message her, and you can set something up to have a specific pattern or color scheme that you want in your hat. Keaton and I both have one. Well, I actually have several. Keep you very warm. They're very fashionable. They look great. They feel great. You'll look awesome if you wear one. So check her out, Northern Knits.
Next up, we have a friend, Matt, at Alaska Rod Co. He just released a new lineup of rods for the 2022 season. They have a lineup of 8 freshwater spinning rods with actions and power for anglers chasing big, aggressive fish. With lengths ranging from 6 foot to 9 foot, there are plenty of options for various applications and style. In a world full of mass-produced rods, Alaska Rod Co. makes sure that rods and services provide what other brands cannot. Rods built and tested in Alaska.
Matt also is coming out with a new line of fly rods. Alaska Rod Co. fly rods are built for harsh environments while maintaining the utmost level of craftsmanship. Right now, Alaska Rod Co. has 9-foot fly rods ranging from 5 weights to 8 weights. 10-foot single-hand rods, switch, and spey rods will be available late winter or spring. There's enough rod companies out there trying to build the next lightest and flashy rod. Alaska Rod Co. is here to build you a rod you can pass down generations. Fishing means many things to many different people. Alaska Rod Co. is honored to build you the ultimate tool that connects you to that meaning.
If you want to learn a little bit more about Alaska Rod Company, go back and check our previous podcast. We asked him several questions about his rods, his warranties. He does a great job at explaining everything and covering everything about his company. Also, if you have questions, you can always DM him or DM us and we can get you going in the right direction. So, Alaska Rod Co.
Finally, we want to say thank you for listening to another episode of the Young Guides podcast. If you can, head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review and a rating. It helps us know that we're doing this for the right reasons, and you guys are giving us some great feedback already. You can also head over to Spotify. They now have a rating feature on the podcast there. So if you could let us know how we're doing, that would be great. It also helps helps us spread the word through you. But makes us pop up on the feeds wherever you listen to podcasts a lot more if you give us a great rating and a great review. You can also head to our website and contact us through that form if there's anything that you think we should know about, if you want to be on our show, or if there is something that we need to work on. You can also find us on Instagram, and same thing, give us some feedback, drop us a message, and we will get back to you.
With Instagram, make sure to also check our story. We before we do our podcast on Thursdays, we always have an option for you guys to ask questions to the people coming on our podcast. And we post a lot of stuff that we like to get viewers and people following us involved. So if you want to head on over, give us a follow and start asking questions and join in on the fun on our Instagram page.
Without further ado, here's the episode.
Welcome back to another episode of the Young Guides podcast. I'm Keaton, and Kyle is he is not available to be on the podcast tonight, so I am doing this solo. Kyle got caught up in some work things, so life happens, and we're gonna be good. But today I'm very excited. We're bringing on Kyle Swann. He's a mule deer, a coues deer, and an elk hunting guide in Arizona grown. And some of the stories that Kyle has shared with me, pre-recording and through the Go Wild app, just makes me excited to hear what he has, what more he has to tell us and tell you guys. So without further ado, Kyle, welcome to the podcast.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just kind of get this rolling. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So, I grew up all the way in Arizona. I grew up in I think it's the largest open pit mining town, or the largest open copper mine in North America, Morenci.
Wow.
So I was just blue collar from the time I was born. So I got out of there. I worked, and I was able to get lucky enough to have parents and family that hunted, and I kind of really got a lot of hunting at a very early age. Doing rabbit hunts when I was like 5 and 6, then my dad taking me on my first deer hunt with him when I was 6 years old. I still remember it. He's like, you gotta wait till you're 6 to go with us. So I went on that, and seeing that large animal die at that young age, being able to have that respect for it at that point was instrumental. And then when I shot my first deer when I was 12, was really just the complete obsession and passion I have for this grew. Then after that, like I played football all through high school, and that took all my fall away. So wasn't really hunting much from the time I was 12 to 16. Then 16, I got into archery, because in Arizona you have that over-the-counter archery hunt in January, and that was the only time I could hunt. So I got into that pretty heavily in archery. Then that grew to another obsession and wasted a lot more of my money. Then I played college football at Arizona Christian. I played there for 3 years, shattered my collarbone. And then I always thought I was going to go play in the league or do something like that, some naive kid. And now looking at full circles, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life after football is, what, hunting's always been there. So I just reached out to outfitters and tried to get guiding. So I started doing elk hunting, and elk hunting is what I do primarily, and starting to dibble down to mule deer and some coues deer stuff. But that's my background right there. And, then by me guiding just sparked an idea of like conservation is just a huge thing. And I want to have my kids and their kids be able to do this and hold that on. So, I want to be a game warden. So I'm already 3 years into my degree in Arizona. You have to have a wildlife degree to be a game warden. So, I'm about to finish my business management degree. So, Texas is going to actually allows any degree. So after I graduate next May, we're going to go over to Texas and get that whole career path started. And, nice. It's funny how I talk to like some of my friends. I'm like, oh, dude, you got it all figured out. Well, I'm not there yet, but it took some growing pain, and it finally feels like I found what I want to do. And now I'm just putting the steps forward to accomplish it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Texas is a good place. I always like. You ever seen that show, The Texas Game Wardens?
Oh yeah. My dad made me watch it. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Would you say at that young age is when you kind of found your passion for hunting, or was it like past that point and when you harvest your first deer is kind of the point where you're like, man, I love doing this, and just really started diving into it?
I think it was at a real young age. Like I always had a hunger to go and do it, Yeah. Then after my first deer is like, I kind of got a little bit more understanding of like the work and the process of going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think after that, I was never able to commit to it fully. So it was always just in the back of my mind, just sitting there. I wish I would have had more of an understanding for it, because I'd be a lot further in my career than I am now. But, you know, just I put another passion aside for that passion. And, you know, that one didn't work out. But, you know, this one, I think this one's here to stay. So, you know, it was interesting. It was just a lot of learning, you know, a lot of growing up, you know, being a kid and chasing different things I thought I wanted and thought I'd be successful, and thought is just the thing I wanted, and truly it was always there from that time I was 6 years old going that deer hunting, when I was 12 years old shooting that deer. And I understand that now, like it all came full circle to me, and I understand like this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to help my kids and future generations, just to keep this going on, because you know we are hunters and gatherers at heart, and you know hunting is not a sport. We hunt to survive, and I'm just super passionate about it, and I just want to continue to carry it on. So yes, it did start at a very young age, but it's just put on the back burner, unfortunately.
That's kind of me and Kyle were talking pre-show a little bit about just kind of the things we do for the next generation, and I think that's just a key player to preserve the places that we love. Wouldn't you say, Kyle?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
we
great.
need some more Teddy Roosevelts out there.
Yeah, and some people to secure some land. So, when you started hunting at a young age, did you just mainly hunt in Arizona? Did you get to travel at all? Have you experienced other states, or is it mostly Arizona for you?
I've always just been Arizona. We've never done any out-of-state hunts or anything like that. I'm planning on doing or out-of-state. I got some points in Utah and Montana. I'm looking to do a hunt in Montana or Colorado next year. So we'll see how that goes. If I have time or not, it might be push another year out, you know. But I wanted to do it this year, but I actually drew. I didn't think I was going to draw, but I drew an Arizona tag for a blue elk hunt, and
awesome.
That was awesome. But I missed a 380 bull at 50 yards. I still have nightmares about.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was awesome, but you know, just came a little shorthanded on it.
Yeah. So, like, at what point in your hunting, your hunting career per se, did you, you're hunting? When was the point that you're like, man, I want to do this for a living. I want to be a guide. Kind of tell us about that turning point in your life.
Honestly, it was, it was right after I broke my collarbone. I was sitting there and I was like, I'm not, because I broke my knee, dislocated my knee, tore my muscle. I'm not doing this rehab and doing all this again, and kind of had some resentment for my coaches and everything else. I was just in a dark kind of place at that point. And I mean, I remember I broke it in, I think November, October, and I went on a January hunt because that's what I do is I default when I go to dark places, I go and hunt. And I went on an archery hunt and I shot a little 40 horn, but I went on that hunt and that was, I mean, I could barely draw my bow back. I wasn't clear to pull my bow back or anything, but I was I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I think is that hunting trip, honestly, it was just with my dad and my fiance at the time. And we did that. And that was the turning point. I honestly believe was like, I was in a little bit of dark space and having that whole thing go on is like, all right, this is something I want to do. And, hunting always pulls me out of the dark places. So like, maybe I could help someone else pull out of somewhere where they thought they failed at or something and help them, hunting's, I think is one of the things that it's like the military and all sports. You know, you're out there a week with someone and you get to know them better than anything else. It's great bonding, but that's the point where I was like, all right, I mean, I'm gonna go on this and see what happens.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, did that collarbone injury affect you drawing your bow back and everything, or?
Oh, at first it did.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing, I have a freaking 33-inch draw length, so I was always shooting a 30-inch bow.
Uh-huh.
And then I got drawn for elk this year. I was like, oh shoot, man! I went and bought the freaking Matthew Atlas. I got a bow that actually fit me, and that freaking it took me 3-4 months to shoot a bow right.
Yeah.
So I was chicken winging it, dipping my elbow. So learning how to shoot a bow right was harder than shooting with a freaking fractured collarbone.
Yeah. Having that right, everything right, and that right placement it changes the game for you.
But now it's freaking better than ever, and
yeah,
that's awesome.
So, being a guide, and you kind of talked how you're a football player, do you find you bringing some of that, kind of that drive, that competitiveness, and those other factors that you learn from football into your hunting guide and your work?
Oh, absolutely. I pull down film because I was a quarterback, so I pull film down for my freaking hunts. Like, why did I mule right here? Why did I bugle right here? Like,
yeah.
Well, I film. I kind of break it down of like, how am I going to get better at this?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing is like, another thing that drives me to hunting, there's always something to be better at. And every time you go in there, you always learn something new. If you're going for a weekend hunt or anything, always find there's something else to learn. And that's the biggest thing that drives me is like, there's always a find a way to get better. There's always a find a way that you're not doing something right.
Yeah. So you talked about recording your hunts. Do you like personally record them, or do you have someone come with you to record them? And
right now I personally record them. Like, most of the stuff is just on my cell phone.
Nice.
I wish I was able to record my freaking hunt. That one was awesome. We had a bull coming in glunking, and oh man, just freaking snot coming down at 50 yards. It was awesome, but I wish I could have recorded that one. But yeah, it's just mostly just on my phone and on phone scope and stuff like that.
Cool.
So yeah, that's how I want. I actually went this year. I got a little bit nicer camera, so we'll see what happens. See if we get a little bit better footage and stuff like that.
Are you guys down there allowed to mount electronics and stuff on your rifles and bows and everything?
Probably not after you said it.
Because up here we can't even mount our GoPros on our bows or anything.
Yeah. I don't know, but I haven't really looked into it, so I don't have any of that on there. But Arizona bans. They already banned all the trail cameras. They'll ban. Yeah, they're banned. They'll ban anything around here.
Well, so talk a little bit about the trail cam ban. Like, how has that affected you as a guide, and is it just for certain times of the year? Me and Kyle were talking last night, and we're like, I thought it was only for certain times of the years, but is it like year round or?
I think it's open right now. I think it's a small spring window before they start growing the horns back.
Yeah.
So or their antlers. I don't really know what that entails, but I know it's shut down for any hunting season and a lot of the scouting season from I know it's not in August when it's huge, and July to kind of see where you're kind of seeing where your bigger bulls are going to be coming from and your more mature animals. So I don't know. It doesn't really affect me much. I never really use trail cameras that much. This year this is the year probably I need it, but usually I guide in units that I'm very familiar with. Like my family's been hunting them since the 60s. So I basically just use historical data kind of these are where these big bulls are. And if they're not there, go here, and so I kind of use it that way. But this year I'm gonna have to be a lot more boots on the ground. I'm guiding a unit I've never been in. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be another new way. Because I was looking at it this year. I was like, oh, I might be getting a little complacent. I'm kind of staying into my safety zone. So, it's going to be a good challenge and a little bit better change of pace, I think. So,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good for me.
So when you are taking people out on a guide trip, do you do public land with them, or are you doing private land with them?
Just 100% public.
100% public. Wow.
Yeah.
And do you face challenges on public land with clients? Like, do you find there's like, other people bumping, the elk you're after or the deer you're after?
Not really. I mean, we don't really see much hunters where we go. I mean, it depends really. It depends on the year. If there's a lot more rain,
Yeah.
if there's a lot more water source, it's a lot. The units are a little bit more diverse than when there's less water. They'll be a little bit. Seems like the animals kind of get a little bit smaller from their habitat, so they kind of decrease into a little bit more less pockets.
Yeah.
So there's I don't know. It goes by year. But honestly, I don't really have an issue with it. And if I do see another hunter, I'm just like, I'll kind of see what they're doing. They'll be like, all right, then, if I'm like, all right, they're either going to make a mistake or they're going to capitalize on it. So we'll go from there. You know what I mean? But, and, there's some public land hunting ethic kind of things. It's like, dude, it's common sense. Like, we're here first. Then they'll go in the whole, I've been scouting it all summer. I've been on this buck for the whole summer, man. I've been, it's like, so have I. Like, it's public land, wake up a little earlier, get on the mountain before the sun rises. First one's there gets to hunt it. If someone beats me on top of the mountain, I'm just going to keep driving to the next one.
Yeah.
But,
so kind of to add on to that, and I'm just thinking from like a Washington standpoint, right? Like, there's a lot of well-known places around here, and some days if you go out on like a weekend, you can have like 20 hunters, and you just see orange like everywhere. And like comparison to Arizona, do you ever see that amount of hunters out in public land, or is it enough of the state that they can spread out?
I think it's a little, like I said, like the units I hunted, they're bigger units.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit harder places to get to. So, I mean, I've been into other units, like for coues deer, you'll be a hunter on top of a hunter over there. A little bit, because it's a little bit down south by the Mexico border.
Yeah.
And, I think there's like 700 tags for like the first week of rifle or something. And it's almost like a free for all at that point, dude. There's so many hunters.
Yeah.
It's hard to find. Like, those areas are pretty tough. But mostly for elk and mule deer, I don't really struggle with that. But coues deer, I mean, it's weird how popular those little deer are.
So we've kind of like touched the surface of it, but can you tell me about the hunting opportunities that you have in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, elk is obviously the hardest one to get into Arizona. I mean, it's one of the most well-known ones, so non-residents are, for archery tag or late rifle or anything like that, you're waiting 10 years at times to draw it. But mule deer and coues deer, you can almost hunt coues deer every year here, even if you're non-resident. And we have the over-the-counter archery stuff non-residents have, which they actually changed this year, which I like. They did it where they have a threshold, so they open up a thing, then you have to have 48 hours to claim your kill. Then they'll be like, for one unit, they'll have like 50 threshold. Once it's at 50 threshold, they'll cancel it. So I don't know how well they're going to be able to maintain that, but I think it's a good idea. Kind of a little bit more idea of the amount of deer that are killed in those over-the-counter hunts. But yeah, those are the opportunities, So, mule deer you can hunt every year here, coues deer, and elk is far in between.
Yeah. Do you is there other hunting opportunities down there, like for small game? I mean, you kind of mentioned like rabbit and stuff, but
there's rabbit. I mean there's javelina too. A lot of people like to go javelina hunting down here. I think that's big game. There's turkey. I'm actually going turkey hunting next weekend.
Nice.
be a little bachelor hunt before my wedding. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so we got turkey, rabbits. I don't know. Some people eat jackrabbits. I don't. I like the cottontails.
Yeah.
They're a little bit tough and stringy and gamey. But about antelope jackrabbit, they're like, I think they're down south, kind of by Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
I heard those ones are. I never ate one, but they're good. The quail, I think quail's phenomenal down here. They have grouse too,
Nice.
and that's like this very small portion of the state that it is. Yeah. So it's super competitive, and people go crazy over grouse.
Yeah. So, so to kind of just describe the hunting opportunities just a little bit further, are you finding your like elk and mule deer more towards like northern Arizona, and then your coues deer more, you mentioned kind of near the border, the Mexico border?
Yeah. Well, you have, I don't know, this is how I kind of summarize it. So you have your coues deer down south in the low desert,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your desert mule deers down there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, I don't know about the elevation, probably 3,000, 4,000. When the juniper kind of seed, or about juniper is probably around 3 to maybe 6,000 at times. But around that time, you have your coues and mule deer down there. Even elk are 6,000 to 10,000. It kind of goes with elevation, but so the elevation works in Arizona. So north or eastern Arizona is primary like elk. So it goes eastern through the middle of the state. So all the way across the middle of the state is where it's like the elk and mule deer country. Then anything below that is so down south you have your coues and your desert muleys. Then on the left side you have your strip hunts, which are the giant, one of the world renowned mule deer hunting. And that's, so on the upper north side you have the reservation where you can't really hunt that much, but you have 13B and and 13A. Those are your strip hunts. Those are your 20-year plus wait, even as residents, to get those mule deer hunts. And there's 220s coming out of there every year, just absolute studs. So so everything above the northwest is all that kaibab and strip hunts.
Yeah. Do you guys do hunters do a pretty good job? Like, let me rephrase this. Do you guys get to like hunt forkies and stuff? Like, do you get to take those out of the gene pool?
Yeah, it's any antler.
Oh, nice. That's
cool. So
yeah.
I think they should kind of go away from that a little bit.
Yeah,
because there's so many in Arizona. There's a huge problem with road hunting too, because we have so many road steers, and so people just go on the side by side, and they'll go shoot a freaking spike or anything, the first thing they see, and they kind of, I see people they go out and just to drink beer and have a good time and just roll by and shoot and road hunt. It's like, dude, I can't, it's frustrating. So I think eventually I think they should do anything like, get at least a 4x4 for a mule deer, or a 3x3 for a coues deer in some units. I think that would help the population well.
The reason I asked that is because like up here, it's usually most units are like 3 points or better. So, 3 point on one side. And we have a lot of units in Eastern Washington where we have these like giant forkies. They're just huge because they're not growing any more tines. So it's like, we got to open it up for like a year or two and let us get some of these out of the gene pool. So we stop. Next thing you know, it's going to be all, you have to shoot a 3x3 or whatever, but we're just going to have a bunch of 2x2s with giant tines running around. So,
oh yeah, I actually have I'll show you something real quick.
Okay.
Like one of these guys.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This is my first deer I killed. He's bigger than a freaking 4-point walking out there. I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah,
it was wild.
That's pretty wide too.
Yeah, he was
2x2. Yeah,
he was freaking pretty big. 2x2s.
You need to send me a picture. Get yourself holding those so we can put them in the when we post this. We can have that photo.
All right.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what we experience up here, and so I'm always curious. Like different parts of the United States hunt differently, and but yeah, that's that's funny that you have that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So what time of the year do you run your hunts? Like, is it, do you have like an early archery season? I know Arizona can get pretty hot at certain times of the year. So can you kind of explain about that and maybe how it affects each time of the year affects the animals differently?
No, yeah, definitely. So the first week so for elk, it's there's 2 weeks in September for the early archery hunt, and that starts the second week of September each year. And then after that, there's early rifle. That's the first, or like the last week of September, the first week of October for the general season hunt. Then you have your late rifle the day after Thanksgiving. Then for deer, for the over the counter, they have an August hunt with a velvet hunt.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty tough at times if you're trying to go down south or do a desert hunt or anything like that. It gets brutal. So I kind of stay away from that. And I go up in the higher elevations in those units and hunt some mule deers. I honestly haven't had time in the past forever since football and everything in August. We get fall camp going right then by then, but this year I'm gonna try to get my first velvet buck with the bow.
Wow.
That'll be my only hunt for myself this year. But after that, then October we have the coues deer, or because they go by they're like the white-tailed and mule deer, so they might have in the antler deer unit, then they'll have just a mule deer, just a white-tail hunt. But those are usually the second week of October. Then they have a December hunt as well. Then the over-the-counter in January. And the cool thing about Arizona too, I forgot to mention this in the hunting opportunities, but you buy one. If you buy a over-the-counter hunt in Arizona, you could go in January. If you don't kill, you come back in August. If you don't kill in August, you come back again in December. So that's kind of neat what they kind of do there.
So is it like certain weapons? Do they do certain weapon seasons, or is it like windows and they're like, or like, can you explain that a little bit for us?
Yeah. So like, elk is the best one I know. So early archery, you start there. Then general seasons, from rifle to muzzle. Or wait, there is a muzzleloader season too. Holy cow, I missed that. So it goes archery, muzzleloader, general. So general is anything, honestly. It's open game. You use rifle, muzzleloader, archery. Then you have your late rifle, which is strictly rifle. And they have a late archery hunt at the same time as the rifle hunt as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then the deer is the same thing. So deer, they have you have your over-the-counter archery. Then some units are closed, like the 13B, and all those are closed, so you have to draw them. So you have those. Then the general season is mostly what all the deer hunts are. So it's not labeled as archery, rifle, or anything. It's just labeled general season. You could use muzzleloader, rifle, or archery in those hunts as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of opportunities there. So
yeah. Well, the thing is, like, even like, so when like residents, if you get your over the counter tag and you see something in January, you might not want to kill it because you might get a better opportunity in the rifle season if you draw it. So it's once a year, so you can't get an over the counter hunt and draw a rifle tag. So if you draw a rifle tag, you just drew a rifle tag and you already killed your deer for the year.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like you could have your over the counter tag and get drawn for a rifle tag. and you harvest your deer, and next thing you know, it's like you get drawn for that, and so is it a point-based system? Do you lose your points?
I mean, well, if you,
Some way?
hopefully if you kill them in January, you'll just buy your bonus point, not put in for the draw.
Yeah.
But if you do, I think they have a system where you could donate your tag to the Wounded Heroes Foundation, and they'll give you your point back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not a bad gig.
Yeah.
So we kind of covered these times of year, and I kind of touched a little bit on it, but how is like what temperatures are we talking about when you're hunting deer in the desert in August compared to when you're hunting them in January?
Oh man, in August you get hit 110, 105.
Yeah.
I mean, even in 2 years ago at like 9,000 feet, we hit like 92 degrees.
Yeah.
Elk hunt. It's like, gosh dang, dude. And it was just dry that whole year. It was just dusty and miserable. But so like the August and September range, you could be up in the hundreds. Then in January, the high might be 38. So yeah, this is a huge difference.
That's crazy because I think like when you think Arizona, at least for my mindset up in the Pacific Northwest, it's cold, it's rainy. I'm like, oh, Arizona, I'm going on vacation in January because it's going to be nicer down there,
Well, if you're in the desert, then I mean,
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of diverse in Arizona, but in the deserts, I mean, still, if you hang around like Phoenix or that kind of area, I mean, it's still 70 degrees. It gets up to like 60, 70 degrees. You guys will be still wearing shorts and t-shirts, and everyone else will be in jackets.
Yeah.
The residents.
So when you're hunting in the hotter, like in August, right? Are you hunting like windows? Like you're like, I'm going to go out from this time to this time in the morning. This is going to be hotter than hell right here. And then I'm going to hunt this. And do you find that the animals also kind of follow that series with you?
I honestly kind of chase the moon phases a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's freaking 9, if I look at the thing and it says it's gonna be 90 at freaking 10 a.m., I'm like, all right, we got about an hour and a half window here.
Yeah,
they might come down, and but when it's that hot, they mostly move at night. So there's so little opportunity in the mornings at that time because they just go in bed right down.
Yeah.
Or you could also get them moving bed because they're chasing shade. So they'll bed down in the morning somewhere, and if you could get them moving to shade once, if they're like on a north slope in the morning, they might have to go to the south slope in the afternoon. So you kind of get them moving beds too. So if you bed one, you could sit on them and wait till they move and try to jump them.
Yeah.
But
and so like down. And this is like, we're kind of talking the desert unit, right? Where it's getting hot. Are you finding them like hugging? I've seen a couple like film tours, and they'll chase them and they're like hugging the bluffs and stuff down there. Do you guys try to chase them like at that point, or can it get challenging?
Yeah, I mean, if they're hugging those, then no. But if they're just hugging junipers and hugging mesquite trees, then we'll try to get up on one on a stalk while they're bedded down, or kind of sit up on it and see what they're doing for those couple days, see where they're moving to beds, see where they're going over. If we're able to pattern that out, then we can get a real good game plan on that.
Cool. Do you find that the mule deer down there are pretty easy to pattern, or does it change up quite a bit?
The mule deer are a lot more easy to pattern. Freaking coues deer just dude, I don't know. There's some coues deer just rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about them, but it's they're just so unpredictable and weird. Just a weird deer. I've seen we've been on a hunt where we'll be glassing and they'll be putting a stalk on them, and the freaking deer will get on its freaking elbows and crawl down a freaking just crawl down like in a tree or something and get up and hop around. Then you'll be glassing it. You'll have it on your bipods and everything. You'll just be sitting there. You'll drop a freaking thing, come back up, it's gone. You'll never find it again.
Yeah.
It's just like they're just so weird. And then, but I noticed one thing. Once it starts to rain or sprinkle, dude, they start acting like a freaking like a playful horse. They'll just be over bucking around, kicking up things, and just going crazy. It's like, all right, so then we kind of put moves on there, but they don't. You know, when they go to their water in the summer, it's kind of more sporadic. They'll because mule deer kind of do the circle kind of deal. They'll have different circle water holes where they'll alternate kind of. But coues deer, they'll just do like stars and like you can't really put a finger on them. Yeah. That's why they're fun to hunt, though, man. Yeah, that's why so many people want to do it. It's a challenge.
It kind of reminds me of like blacktail hunting up here. Like blacktails, it's just like when it's raining, you know, they'll move out. You'll find them in fields, or when they're just like so sporadic. Like I'll put trail cams up and I'll get them like, let's just say like March 1st, right? You get them March 1st, and then next thing you know, it's like April 31st or April 30th, and they're walking out, and you're like, where's this deer been for a whole month? Like, and I read something that they're only like in a 5-mile window, right? And you're like, okay, you should be walking by this like every other week or whatever. And no, they're just like, they'll walk by. I had the weirdest thing. I had 2 deers on my trail cam, and it was like a 3x3 and a 2x2. And they were coming by every like 2 weeks. And then the last time I saw them, like right before hunting season opens up, the 3x3 just runs up, smashes into this 2x2. The 2x2 takes off one way, the 3x3 takes off the other way. Never saw them again. I was like that. They didn't even have, they had still had like velvet on. I was like, what the fuck is that? You know,
but, not even rut or anything.
No, not even rutting yet. I was so surprised. So then when you like are describing these coues deer, I'm like, man, that kind of sounds like blacktail, just sporadic, random, all over the place. Love the rain. So at least in my experience, from what I've seen and what I've heard. So
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. What are some challenges you face as an Arizona hunting guide? Do you find like being, I mean, we kind of talked about like temperatures and stuff, but like in the legality of things, like do you find anything changing up in the game department? Do you face challenges that when you first started, maybe they've changed as the years go on and you become a more experienced guide?
You know, honestly, just the amount of, I think Onyx is, I kind of saw a shift there. So once Onyx came out, there's a lot more like places where we actually had to go hike in and find these water holes. And they just weren't just on any map, you know. Having Onyx, we'll see a lot more trail cameras back there, and then we'll see more hunters back there.
Yeah.
I think Onyx is a little bit of a challenge because the place where we hunted that no one will ever be, there's people there now because mapping's a lot more accessible. That's one challenge. I think like rules and regulations, you know, obviously the trail camera one, I mean, I wouldn't really rely on it that big, but it does affect it. Looking at this year, like I said, like me going to a new unit, I mean, I wouldn't, you know, being able to learn units was a lot easier with trail cameras, just to kind of get a little bit of a pattern out rather than just having to be out there for days at a time, just like observing and watching the animals, just having that there, just kind of get a little feel. So you kind of figure out what their movements are and going from there. But I think those are the big ones, probably just trail cameras and Onyx, just the digital mapping.
Yeah. We had an Onyx, a guy that worked for Onyx, and we were chatting with him, and he's like, a lot of people, it's funny, I just thought of this like right when you said it. He's like, a lot of people don't like onyx because they think we gave away all these like hunting spots. And it's like, I mean, the point that he argued with it is like, he's like, if they weren't going to get it on onyx, people were going to eventually figure it out on like Google Maps or something, you know, because like all the mapping services are getting like more and more. But I mean, the onyx kind of like specifically is like, hey, here's a chunk of BLM and there's a watering hole and you should go hunting here. Yeah. So
it's like X miles off the road. So because like, you know, having a map that didn't have it, we found it by freaking just walking and chasing animals, and we found that water. Like, oh, freak, awesome. Then onyx happens, and 2 years later or a year later we find trail cameras on. Man, you're ruining it. But
yeah,
well, I can see what he's saying too. But even like, because even Google Earth, you know, people would use Google Earth pretty good before onyx to find things. So I'm not against it. I use it. I use it a lot, and I think it's very beneficial. But for new hunters, they don't have to put as much work in.
No, they don't. They don't have to find their spots, or like, you know, the way I grew up is through my uncles, and they had the spots figured out, and they just, the first year I just tagged along with them, and they took me to these canyons and spots, and they're like, hey, we're gonna hunt here and here and here. And now, like you said, it's just like more people are showing up, and especially did you guys find in Arizona like a push of hunters with like the, you know, pandemic and everything going on?
Oh yeah, I mean, this January was freaking, there's a lot of non-residents because we went out on a coues deer hunt this January, and we saw nothing but California and Utah plates.
Yeah,
it was like, all right. It was interesting. A lot of California comes down to Arizona for the over the counter hunts, but for like, I don't know. It's hard because there's so much draw in Arizona, so there's not as much opportunity. But I think definitely in the over the counter hunts, I think we definitely saw a little bit more out there during the pandemic.
Yeah. That's what just, you know, we just got a big push of fly fishing and kind of hunting, and the industry up here blew up. So it's like similar, you know, it's like you got these places that you're going, and, you know, because of these mapping services and kind of everything, it's like, oh, there's more people in this, my favorite fishing hole, or there's more people here. And so I just, and this is, you know, to kind of come full circle, this is a little off topic, but, you know, this is why it's important that we do volunteer work, and kind of like what we were talking before this, why it's important to try to take new anglers and new hunters out and show them, you know, hopefully the right way to do it, so that they have that etiquette when they're out hunting with other people, and they can see the wrong etiquette when it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, people will go grab a buddy, and it's just the blind leaving the blind at that point.
Yeah. And we're not, you know, we're not shitting on new hunters or anything, but, you know, it takes a lot to get it figured out. I mean, I came from it. I'm sure Kyle, you know, it took you a long time to get some stuff figured out, and yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring it out. You're a guy, and I'm not like, you're here, I'm like right here, you know.
The thing is, I make so much less mistakes as a guide than I do on my own hunts.
It's, you know, you kind of like when you're sitting there, right, and you're watching someone fish, you're watching someone hunt, you can like critique them so much more, and you have like it's almost like you got like a kind of like a camera up in front, so you can just watch things a lot better, you know, compared to like when you're hunting, you're just like, it's almost like that you're in that first person mindset, you know, zoned in. So
yeah, and everything. Yeah, you have the adrenaline's not as severe, so you're think a little bit more level-headed.
Yeah. So kind of going back onto the hunting topic, what kind of predators do you have down in Arizona?
Oh, we have a bunch of coyotes, bobcats, mountain lions. Mountain lion was a big old thing this past winter. They were trying to pass on black bears. They're trying to pass a mountain lion black bear deal through non-hunting organizations.
Yeah.
And that was like, that actually opened something up for me about that. I might go a little bit off topic, but
Yeah.
I started talking to, I'll reach out to the the non-hunting organizations, like the Mountain Lion Foundation and the Humane, whatever it was. I reached out to them and I was like, I want someone that has a conservation degree. I don't want anyone that has a political degree. I want to talk to those guys.
Uh-huh.
And so I talked to those guys and dug in a little bit. And, at the end of the day, I think we want the same thing for the animals.
Yeah.
But, it's hard because, having those conversations with them is they're passionate about trying to, rehabilitate the mountain lions in Arizona and stuff. But at the same time, it's not the hunting that's pushing them away. I think it's overpopulation, populating their habitat. That's the biggest thing. Other than that, sorry about that little thing, but it was big. Learning about other non-hunting organizations and being able to try to figure out, I think that's another, being proactive as hunters, talking to those guys, trying to stay a step ahead of them rather than trying to take the feet out of under us is big. But for predators, sorry about that. Mountain lions, black bear, fox. We have gray fox, red fox, coyotes. We're getting wolves back. Freaking blew my hunt out. We had a big bull bugling, then we just hear wolves, and all of a sudden nothing.
Oh yeah, it will shut them off.
Like coyotes, when coyotes go, they don't care. But if a wolf goes off, everything's done.
Yeah. See you.
Is surreal because that was the first time we really had that problem because they're actually really starting to come back, the gray wolves here, and I think that's awesome. But there's just one more competitor out there. But yeah, that's what we have for wolves. But for wolves we can't hunt obviously. But open hunting is black bear, mountain lion, red and gray fox, and coyotes.
So you kind of open that door, and I'm going to kind of follow you in a little bit. Me and Kyle kind of talk to it, and everyone's going to have their own take on it, but we face the same challenges around the same time. If you looked at the windows at the black bear, we had our spring black bear hunt here in Washington go up for vote. And then it was a tie. And then it went up for vote again, and they shut it down. And it's similar. I saw California had it, but California actually, from what I saw, they won, and they came out. The hunters came out on top there. But I don't think it's talked about enough. I think, and I think that's to be played in with our social media game, right? Like everyone wants to get that big bull, get that big deer. But we don't have as much take on we need to do maybe more predator control, right? Because you get this pile of people coming out hunting elk and deer, and you start taking down the prey, and stuff's going to happen with these predators and things. You can have starvation, you can have overpopulation, you can have a whole list of factors, and this is from I'm not no biologist or anything, but this is from what I've heard. And you can see it happening in certain states specifically. So, but I think it is very important that we start doing a little more about them. So, how did they do some planting with wolves in Arizona, or was it or they brought or just kind of migrated from other states?
They did planting.
They did some planting.
Yeah, there's some planting in some different regions. They started in New Mexico. Actually, they planted some in New Mexico and then originally came to Arizona. Then they planted some after that.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, so now they're starting to plant them a little bit in different areas.
Yeah. Do you have you seen them when you're out guiding?
Oh yeah, I saw some out scouting last year. my dad actually got a pretty cool video of them. There are like 7 of them just running back and forth, and one just stops and howls, and they all just come together, and they just run straight into the forest from the field.
Oh,
it is gnarly.
Yeah, that's crazy. And they'll populate pretty quick. So got to get a grip on them. But that's a whole nother podcast right there. So
Oh my, yeah, dude. Yeah, the mountain lions ones. Yeah, there's a lot of things that went into that. You know, a lot of like they're pointing out the problem. They're pointing out like the units I've been into a lot, and like one specifically was like 90% ranch land, like some of the most biggest like private land in Arizona. That's where most of our cattle run through. So like most of those ones are hunting the lions from eating their calves and having that whole thing. Like, you know, it's a huge, you know, political, ethical kind of deal, and you know, but it's something to kind of stay on top of as hunters. You know, always, you know, because hunters like, as long as we get a hunt, you know, grass is green. But you know, you have those guys trying to light your grass on fire. Yeah. So I think it's huge to be proactive in it as hunters, to always kind of keep a foot ahead of them.
Exactly. Does the state do a pretty good job at keeping track of your predators? Like, are they pretty open about that? Like letting you know? Yeah.
Yeah, they do like whole harvest reports on mountain lion and bears. Yeah, so their whole mountain lion and bear, I think they do really, really well of how they manage them. You know, they have closed off. They have the threshold with mountain lions and bears. So if you're about to do a spring bear hunt, you have to call the hotline like, hey, is this unit open? If it's not, you can't hunt it. So so I think they do a pretty good job. And I think for the most part, you know, we always have ethical hunters here.
Yeah. I like that you can call a hotline and ask if a unit's open. I think the transparency is there, and it sounds like they like want you to hunt and be successful and safe and responsible, right? So we don't have that in Washington. It's a Bible. You open it up, you read as much as you can, and you try to do the best you can. You know, I can see why some of these new hunters are having some challenges. You know, it's not an excuse. You got to figure it out. You got to do your research. You got to ask questions. But man, it can be tough up here. So we're kind of falling into the last couple questions, but we're gonna ask away here, and then if there's anything at the end we want to add, we can add that in. So, all right. So, what kind of weapons do you hunt big game with? Like, what's your weapons of choice? What do you recommend to your clients? Do you have a preference? Do you just let them bring what they want? Or
I think a big one with like archery, I always tell them, hey, bring I see a lot more success, especially with elk, fixed broadheads rather than mechanical. A lot more success rates, because mechanical ones, if they hit a rib, they're not going to expand. They're just going to break right there. As like if you hit a mule deer with expandable, then I think you'll be all right. But with elk, success rate is a lot better with fixed broadheads. You know, for coues deer, I think the 6.5 is almost the perfect build for that. A little 6.5 Creedmoor is great for coues deer hunting. You know, honestly, you can do it as mule deer too. Then for elk, I kind of, you know, 300 Win Mag. I shoot. Sometimes I let my clients use my 300 PRC. I like to do a little bit of long range shooting, but I encourage them, like when I tell them like, hey, be prepared to shoot. I don't like to shoot anything over 400 yards. I really don't think it's really necessary. Yeah. That's another thing, but like, those are my go-tos for this. You know, I'm a 6.5 for coues deer. 30 I use the old 30-06 for mule deer. Then elk I use a 300 PRC. If you got 28 nozzle, great. You know,
Yeah.
A little bit bigger ones for those, but yeah.
When people come on hunting trips with you, do most of them have their own guns, or do you get guys that are like, hey, I don't have anything, I've never done this before, can you help me out?
No, they bring their guns. Sometimes I'll offer them, like, hey, you want, or they'll be like, oh man, I'll be like, I have a 300 PRC if you want to use it. But, oh yeah, I always want to shoot a 300 PRC or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, a little precision round. I'm like, yeah, we can do that if you want. But most of them are usually, especially in Arizona with elk and everything, usually they're pretty much in their 50s and 60s. You know, they've been hunting pretty much their whole life, and they like what they have, and usually they bring what they want, but I'll let them bring.
Yeah,
let them shoot.
Pull that nice gun out of the case, get ready to go hunt. So,
oh my gosh, the guy last late elk season, he won. He's from California. He does mostly. I think he's ahead on Ducks Unlimited, but he was he won a 7mm out of 8 over there. It's a beautiful brown gun. He's I'll bring this on the elk hunt. It was freaking like,
yeah,
not a scratch, nothing on it. It is like a collector's item. I'm bringing this, and he did. It was freaking awesome.
Those like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquets, I know 2 guys now that have won. Like one guy that goes to church that I go to church with, he won like a 7mm just like at last week's banquet. And then my friend, he won like a 9mm at another banquet. I was like, well, I gotta start making these Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquets, because everyone's coming out winners, you know.
Oh yeah, the banquets are always nice, dude. I volunteered for like the Arizona Elk Society, and we had a banquet, and dude, there was probably 50 guns that we gave away that time. Just crazy. The banquets, you know, and it's honestly not that hard to win them too, because there's not that many people there. There's probably about 300 at tops at those banquets at most times. Yeah. But there's so much money that they throw in it too.
Yeah. They're making all their money back on their prizes they're giving away. They're making it all back. So.
Oh yeah, easy. That's for a good cause too.
It is. What is the process like? I'm gonna switch gears here, and I want to get into, you know, talking about the paperwork side of becoming a hunting guide in Arizona. So what is the process like at becoming a hunting guide in Arizona? Is there steps you have to take? Do you have to be under someone like in Alaska for a while, or can anyone just kind of go on, sign on, and is like, hey, I'm going to be a hunting guide?
Yeah. So they have like this guide test. I didn't renew it. If you renew it after the December, you have until December 31st to renew it. If not, you have to take the test again. It's a 50-question test you have to take. I mean, you honestly don't even need to read the regulations to pass it. It's real easy. But like, you give them, you take the guide test, pay them $300, you're good for the year. So if you have $300 and can pass the test, you can be a guide. But
that's kind of cool, but also kind of scary all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have to go with trusted outfitters, you know, outfitters that hire good guides. So that's the thing. But like, you know, I don't know. Game and Fish, in Arizona, they just want to make much money as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And throw it towards their fancy little buildings and getting the muscles off their boats.
Yeah. Did you start guiding for anyone, or did you like before you kind of start your own gig? Or
well, I'm still guiding for people right now. I started off with Travis McGlennon, and now I do a couple different through different outfitters. Yeah, just kind of pick it up. But yeah,
cool. What has been your favorite experience being a hunting guide in Arizona? Like, what do you like most about it?
Honestly, I try to bring family into it. when I first call the client and stuff and would start playing the hum, like, are you bringing your wife? Are you bringing your kids? Or anything like that. You know, I love when they bring their kid, especially their kid or their wife along. I think that makes it a lot more enjoyable because it's a little bit, you know, because when it's one-on-one hunting, you know, it's like it's different dynamic. But if you have like, because I bring my family, so I'll bring like my fiance, my parents will come up and help cook, and I kind of get that little bit more of a camp feel to like as a hunt, because I think that's huge, because that's kind of where hunting kind of originated, is providing for your family and stuff. So when they bring their family in and having their kid experience, especially if they're out of state, being able to experience that with them and help them grow as a family, I think that's the best thing. And I think that's definitely by far the best thing about it.
And if they're not, you know, if they're bringing their family out, they might not be hunters then, but you never know, after a trip or watching it, they might want to become it, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's something I'll tell them, like, dude, I won't charge you anything extra. If you want to bring your family, just bring your family, man. I think more than welcome, man. My family will be up here too, so don't worry about it. We'll have a good time and have a lot of good food and have a lot of good laughs at the fire and hunt real hard.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what do you do for your like conservation? Like what do you like to contribute to? What do you try to do? What organizations do you like?
Yeah, right now, mostly with Arizona Elk Society. We help plan the little wild and city for all the kids down in the Phoenix area. We get them a little exposed. You know, we ran the archery thing for them. It was a really great time. You know, we helped out the banquet. Last year we went up to we helped lay fence down for and build water holes up there. I've been doing youth mentor hunts, Mule Deer Foundation, and trying to do a little bit of that. You know, I try to squeeze some time in for that. I think it's important for that conservation efforts. But you know, I mean, I don't have that much time on my hands, unfortunately. But the time I do, I try to give it back to, mostly I want to give it back to the youth. But if not, I'm all for trying to rehabilitate or enhance wildlife in Arizona. I think that's important. Getting water out to them on the whole 9 yards.
That's awesome. Yeah. Giving back to the people and giving back to the places that you hunt, you know, or fish or are outdoor. That's important. So,
yes, sir.
So if someone if someone wanted to book a trip with you, how would they do so?
As of right now, I'm booked for the year, but from going forward, I will have my own website. I'll be able to open my own guide service after this fall. So then I'll have my own website, but I have no social media. I kind of stay away from that. The only social media I have is Go Wild. So you can reach out to me on Go Wild. You can reach me on networkoutdoors.com. They do some bookings for me. You can book straight through them. They're out of Michigan. So if you go to networks.com, you can see my bio on their website.
Cool.
That's one way you can reach out to me.
Sweet. And we'll be able to put you up on our website, just like a website or a link to if people want to get in contact with you, or like we found each other on Go Wild. So that was a great contact point for us. And Go Wild is, if you don't know about it, it's all hunters, outdoorsmen. It's like a sportsman app, social media for outdoorsmen. So I really like it if I'm just trying to get like that outdoor vibes. You know, I don't want to see other stuff. I just want hunting and fishing. So I would check it out and check out Kyle on there as well. I got a few more questions for you here. in a minute, but is there anything else that you wanted to add to this podcast? Thinking, something we missed, something that you just want to talk about?
I don't know off the top of my head, honestly. Though there's always something that pops up, something that you'll ask me, like triggers me to get off topic.
Yeah.
At the moment, no.
Yeah, that's good. That's okay. Well, cool. We're coming into my favorite portion of the podcast. This is our rapid fire round, kind of just quick answers here and there. And yeah, so whenever you're ready, here we go. What if you could only hunt with one gun for the rest of your life? What gun would it be?
On my old 30-06.
Old 30-06. Is it like a family gun, or is it just?
Oh yeah, family gun. It's old Winchester 70. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Sure.
What is your favorite animal to hunt for?
Elk.
Nice. What is your dream destination for a hunt?
Oh man, Alaska grizzly moose combo.
Nice. Okay, you're headed out to go do some hunting or scouting, or what is your favorite like snack and drink to have with you while you're out hunting or scouting?
Oh man, beef jerky and chocolate milk.
Nice. What is the music that you put on before you go out hunting?
Oh man, I put on Dustin Lynch, Hunting Land.
Nice. That's a good song. You're headed out the door to guide a hunt. What is something you grab that many people wouldn't consider?
Trekking poles.
Trekking poles. I haven't used trekking poles, but I just feel like they save your knees or something, right? They got to benefit you in many ways.
You're not swinging around when you have your big old 100-pound pack on.
Yeah,
it's so easier.
What's one essential thing that you would carry in your hunting pack that may like others may not find as essential, but you find it beneficial?
I use used dryer lint.
Use dryer lint?
Yeah.
Or like a fire starter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, cool. That was kind of my rapid fire questions for you, and that's a good way to end the podcast. One more time, is there anything that you might want to add or any questions?
I got blanks, man.
No, it's all good. I think that we're going to have to do another podcast with you after, you have your guide season, maybe, coming up, and maybe we'll do one in the fall or one after a January hunt or something. We can get in contact and kind of just hear how it went and things. Oh, I got one more thing for you, and then we will do the exit out. But we like to end our podcast here with a favorite hunting moment or a guide story that you have. So if you want to send us out that way, and then we'll end this podcast.
Oh, my favorite hunting story. Oh, man. There's a lot.
Oh, yeah. This can be like, the way we like to describe it is, maybe this is an educational moment. Maybe this is just a funny story. Maybe this is something that you learn. Maybe this is just one of your favorite stories to tell.
Yeah.
No rush.
Oh, all right. I got one. I'll just go back. My first deer hunt after I shot it, we came out, and as my dad and uncle we're hiked down to it. The first thing I did was this is the Winchester too. I set it down on the Leopold scope, and my uncle looks at me, he grabs it, he goes, "This thing costs money, all right?" And I'm just excited about the hunt, and I just killed him. I was excited, and I kind of went down, and my dad's like, "You're all right, just don't do that again." Then after that, we went to the gutting process, right?
Yeah.
And, dude, as soon as my dad goes and he pops open and the gas hits me, just everywhere. I just turned green and just oh my god, he's like, you have to gut it. I was like, I'm gonna throw up again. He's like, you have to gut it. So then I'm like, all right. So then I went. I threw it like 2 more times, and he was like, all right, just give me it. You're about to freaking pass out. I was about to freaking 4-mile pack out. So we get it. And then I started off carrying the antlers and the head out because we quartered them up. And then after that, we get down to the thing, and I forget what happened, but I switched it, and I got the hind legs over my head, and it's just sitting there, and the blood's going down my back. And by the time we get back to the truck, I'm just freaking just still green, and the blood, as soon as I set it down, I just throw up again. And I'm just basically just passed out. As soon as we get the deer back on the bed of the truck, and we're heading back to the camp to get it all cut out. I mean, I just passed straight out, and I was just so tired.
Oh man.
Looking back at that story, like, how did I enjoy that?
Yeah.
It's something. It's just that work, and like something that I never thought. Looking back, was like at that time I hated every second of it, but like just how much I learned from it was huge. Like
something had to come away from it, because now you're a hunting guide and you're doing it, more and more. And
I try to prefer the gutless method. I try not to. I try to roll them over and just take the meat off. But sometimes I need that tenderloin. I need the little clients. I need that heart and liver. All right,
here we go. That's awesome.
That was
that's a great story. That's a way to end it.
Yes,
but like, just on another comment, like, our hunting, we mostly do a lot of fishing people, but our hunting guides have some of the most insane stories. Like, you gotta, if you got time, go listen to Tyler Kuhn's podcast.
I will.
Tyler Kuhn's, but that one was awesome. He's an Alaska bear guide. He's kind of up your alley there. So
I saw that one. I was about to listen today.
Yeah,
a couple days ago.
Recommend it. So
I definitely will now.
Well, cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you for taking the time tonight and hopping on and making contact with us. I'm sure this is going to be a hit. This is a different area than the Pacific Northwest, so it's always cool to hear how things work in a different region and in different climates and different temperatures. So I just really appreciate it. And I want you to know, Kyle, that we appreciate you coming on here and sharing your stories.
Absolutely. I mean, I appreciate you guys for having me on. And the reason I reached out was I stand by what you guys believe in. And I'm glad to be a part of it and have a conversation of like-minded people, man. It's always great to have a conversation about hunting.
This is like, this is the decompress of my week. I just love chatting with people that love doing what I love to do. So nothing can beat it. So, but yeah, so we just want to thank Kyle for hopping on the podcast tonight. Kyle reached out through social media, actually the Go Wild app. You too could be like Kyle and hop on this podcast with us. And if you have a great story to tell, if you're a guide, if you're just in the, professional in the industry, anything, reach out to us. And we'd love to chat with you. Also, we just want to, I just want to reach out and tell every listener that takes the time to listen to our podcast that we appreciate you. We see your comments, we see your reviews. We're trying to grow. We're trying to be better. I just appreciate all of you for taking the time and listening to our podcasts and just sharing it with people and listening to what we love and what we have to say. So make sure to check out some of our partners. And with that being said, this was another episode of the Young Guides podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.